Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Good start. Wednesday, all of our guests today, including Jeff Paterson, standing by, are brought to you by our title sponsor, Able Auctions, ableauctions.ca. Canucks hosting Tampa Bay tonight. Steven Stamkos with a chance to get goal number 500 in the National Hockey League. From Sekeres and Price Rink-Wide Podcast, we bring in Jeff Paterson. How are you, sir?
I'm good, and I tweeted out a moment ago that it's Spencer Martin in goal, and his challenge tonight is to stop Stamkos from getting 500. And then I realized that I had to clarify that I meant his 500 tonight. I guess part of the challenge is to stop him from getting 500 tonight as well. With this Canuck defense, you just never know what you're going to get. But it could be a milestone night at the old rink tonight.
So much to go through when it comes to the Canucks. Jeff, what stood out for you when it maybe a lot of things when it came to Jim Rutherford's press conference earlier this week?
Yeah, where to begin, Donnie?
Yeah.
The theater of it all. I guess the fact that in the middle of a season to see the president of hockey operations flanked by two team doctors, we've all covered this team for a long, long time, never seen anything like that. And with all due respect to Tanner Pearson, who is a thorough professional through and through, and I do hope the best and speedy recovery. But it's not Connor McDavid or Alex Ovechkin or Tom Brady in another sport. Maybe I could understand if they needed the doctors there to talk about superstardom, but this is just a veteran player, and things obviously have gone sideways for Pearson. So again, I hope that they get that sorted out. But it was just the theater there, and then at the one point when Jim dismissed the two doctors, and then the first words out of his mouth were major surgery, and I just thought, oh my goodness, we really have all days to use that terminology. But it just kind of, again, we just go round and around with the organization sort of shooting itself in the foot. The fact that we're back on a 3-year plan and trying to build this group off reclamation projects from other teams.
Yes.
You can hit on reclamation projects, sure, but I don't think that's the way that you truly build a Stanley Cup contender and ultimately a champion. The best place to find elite level talent is near the top of the draft. And so for him to say, aren't we tanking already? No, because that just shows sort of a lack of understanding of truly what tanking means in the long term. It doesn't just mean not winning a bunch of hockey games. And so, the fact that he called Bruce his friend and then in the same breath talked about how, oh yeah, absolutely, I've reached out to a number of people about a job that it's not open now, but it might be available again. There was just so many things, the optics of it all. And sort of the overarching theme for me, and I made this point on Twitter, was that it's been too long since we've heard from either Jim Rutherford or Patrick Allvin in a situation like this. And so the pressure builds, the issues build, the questions that people have. And ultimately, the dam of content burst the other day. And it was information overload, quite frankly, but all of it spoke to just what a tire fire this organization is right now.
Bruce Boudreau, how tough is it right now? We hear the Rick Tocchet name. It's been out there for a couple of weeks now, Jeff. That's another dynamic to talk about. How does he get through this next little while?
Yeah, was deplorable. Was that the word that Craig Button used?
He was breathing fire yesterday, Mr. Craig Button, on our show.
I saw that. So I agree with an awful lot. Bruce Boudreau is a very decent human being and one of the most positive people I think that I've ever had contact with. And so just to see his demeanor this year and to know, and he has to know that he's living on borrowed time, it just doesn't seem fair the way the organization is treating him. And it hasn't been fair for a while with the comments made about structure and then to go public with the sort of the complaints about the hockey club from upper management, and they've got their digs in repeatedly. And so Bruce, he's a hockey lifer, we know that. I think he recognizes that he's got one of 32 highly coveted jobs. He doesn't want to let it go, and so he's doing the best that he can under these circumstances. Now, some of the on-ice performance, the buck has to stop with him. He is the coach, and we're past the midway mark of the season, and the penalty kill remains dead last in the NHL and still a sore point that cost some games like it did in Florida on Saturday when they gave up 2 more power play goals. So there are things strategically that I don't agree with necessarily with the way Bruce Boudreau has coached, but it comes down to honesty and decency and everything else, and they want accountability, and yet they're just kind of hanging this guy out to dry. And so I'm a little surprised that they're taking the risk of allowing him to coach another home game here, because we've seen the crowd rise up in support of Bruce Boudreau. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. I think it's going to be an energetic building, probably a tribute to Gino beforehand that'll get the crowd going. Wouldn't surprise me if we roll from a Gino chant right into a Bruce there it is. And if that's the case, if the fan base is backing the coach, ultimately it's a tough look on management and ownership when they decide to pull the plug.
Jeff, March 3rd, the trade deadline. I think this one could be one of the best trade deadlines in Vancouver in a long time. Bo Horvat we know about. What are your thoughts on Kuzmenko? Are you in the on the side of re-signing him or moving him?
Well, I see you've already traded him to traded Horvat to Seattle.
No,
so nice
stop.
Very true.
Stop. Before,
but I saw him in a jersey on your show.
So stop. Before all the haters start hating. Forget about Horvat. I'm asking you about Kuzmenko. What are your thoughts on him?
Kuzmenko's been incredible for the Canucks. It was a great get, obviously, when he chose them. I just wonder about locking him into any sort of mid to longer term deal. He's 26 going on 27. And again, he's done everything that they hoped. He's been a goal scorer. He's been a playmaker. The play that he makes on the Besser tying goal in Carolina off the wall the other day, like nobody's talking about that one. Talk about the goal and the comeback, but it doesn't happen. And he was out there late with the goal he pulled. He wasn't in the previous games, and look what happened. So it's not just goals. There's a playmaking element there. But again, I just wonder about committing $6 to $6.5, $7 million to a guy here in the next 3 years. Are they truly in a contention window? Is he part of the solution, or would they be better served to, drive a market for this guy ahead of the deadline? Like every contending team can afford him because of the entry-level contract. And what is the return on a guy who's basically been a point-a-game guy? I just wonder if some teams around the league have any concerns about the small sample size. Like as we get into the second half of the season, it gets tougher to score in this league. He doesn't have any playoff experience in the NHL on his resume, and so it's a bit of an unknown. But again, it's basically a free player on the salary cap for the remainder of this season. And what can the Canucks get? If they can get a first-round pick or, a second and something else, I think they have to look long and hard. As much as I've enjoyed Kuzmenko on the ice and off the ice, the guy is a tremendous character. The city has embraced him. But the question is, to me, is he better served here over the next bunch of years, making 6.5 or 7, or could you benefit better from trading him and recognizing the value of that player in a deal?
Jeff, this is personal, but you did tweet about it. Can you explain to people why you aren't able to report on the Canucks on a regular basis inside Rogers Arena?
Yeah, there was a lot made of the fact that I wasn't at the Jim Rutherford press conference the other day, and I wasn't. And there were reports swirling that somehow I had been barred from the press conference, and I sort of envisioned them having bouncers there and, me trying to get in the back door, and none of that happened. I didn't go. And I haven't gone often this year because they did not grant my company media access. 22 consecutive years of being an accredited member of the Canucks media, traveled on the beat for 3 years, hosted pre- and post-game shows on Right Shoulder Radio. Like I have been, this is what I've done for my career. And Rink-wide had accreditation last year. And then at the start of this season, on the eve of the season opener, we were told, no, we had applied, and we were told that there was no space in the press box for podcasts and blogs. And that if they opened it up to one podcast, they would have to open it up to others. And I don't believe that space in the press box truly is the issue. I'm not a big guy. I don't take up a lot of space. But to counter the other argument that if they open it up to me, they have to open it up to others, I would say if there's another podcaster out there in the market that traveled on the beat for 3 years, that hosted pre and post as a member of the Rights Holder, has been on the job for 23 years, has written columns in the daily newspapers in this market. If there's another person like that, then damn it, yeah, they should get accreditation too. I don't think that there are many that meet that threshold. So we've met with the Canucks. We've dealt with the Canucks. Those conversations have gone nowhere to this point, and I don't know where it goes from here. But it's what I love to do. Look, a guy like Ricky, he can show that you can cover this team as well as anybody without being at the rink on a daily basis. Some people do deep dives on the players. I feel my best work has been done at the rink with access, doing the work of fans, asking questions, trying to get answers. And it's what I love to do. It's what I want to do. And I do hope that at some point here we can all get together in a room and act as adults and come to some sort of resolution, because I hate talking about myself. I don't want to be the story, but there was just too much out there and too many people asking me questions. And so I felt I had to put some sort of statement out there. But ultimately, I just want to get back in, a seat at the table, doing what I love to do. And I love coming on here talking with you guys. And I think I could serve your listeners and audience better if I was a regular at the rink and was able to walk in there with my head held high and not look like I was being watched by people in the organization and those types of things. So I do hope that there's a resolution to all of this. In the meantime, I pledge to you guys and to any rink-wide listeners, and I thank everybody for the outpouring of support. I mean, again, I hate to be in the middle of all this, but the work's going to continue. I will continue to crunch my numbers and do my stats and all that kind of stuff and talk about this team as informed as I can. But man, I'd love to be able to do it by going to the rink and talking to players and the coach and the managers and on a regular basis. So fingers crossed so we can get back to that.
And again, you're not complaining. You're just reacting to some reaction about not being there earlier this week with Jim Rutherford. Jeff, you know whose side we're on. Thanks for this. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Jeff Paterson, Sekeres, and Price. He just talked about covering the Canucks for over 20 years. I'm telling you right now,
22.
A part of what we do, we don't always say this. We're probably not supposed to say it, but in so many ways, we're a liaison between the Canucks and their customers.
Yep.
The media does a pretty good job of selling the product, and nobody in the media has done a better job of selling the product than Jeff Paterson. I think he's got a legitimate complaint there.
Best reporter in town for the Canucks is Jeff. Look, I don't know why the Canucks and his company have issues. I have no information. I just want to say, when you stop the best reporter in the city from reporting on the Canucks, that hurts the Canucks as well. Don, it hurts them. You just said it.
I can't believe they can't
Whether
see
you
that.
like us or not, the media, we do play a role in moving information to the fans, you know. And when you block a guy like that, boy, oh boy, that's not good.